your dreams trying to tell you something? Author M.B. Mosley teaches you how to decode your dreams and take hold of the manifestations that lay in wait for you in the waking realm. Now, broadcasting all over the world, it's the Dream Interpretation Podcast.
Welcome, family. Please be reminded that all dreams are not a one-size-fits-all, and that each dream may be similar, but is contingent upon each individual's waking life. I conduct dream interpretations based upon my waking life as it pertains to my journey here on earth. As for the requests that are emailed to me, I do a general interpretation as I do not know the individual's spiritual and personal waking life. I am so excited. Welcome to Zip Baby Zip. Zip Baby Zip. That's DZIP, the Dream Zone Interpretation Podcast. Share this podcast with your loved ones, guys. I'm so excited to continually teach you all on how to do dream interpretations. I want to hear about it. You can email me at askmemory2019@gmail.com. And we are also dropping new episodes every other Wednesdays as we acclimate into this podcast. And the further out we go in the podcast, we're hoping to drop more episodes, and we're hoping to hear from your requests as well. I'm excited for that. So let's get right into it, folks. Drum roll, please. Grab your pens and paper, and 3, 2, 1. Zip, baby, zip. Zip, baby, zip. Zip, baby, zip. Zip, baby, zip. DZIP, hashtag DZIP, hashtag The Dream Zone Interpretation. Welcome back, family. I am your host, author, and sister friend, M.B. Mosley, and I'm so excited that you are here with me once again on a dream interpretation podcast. And thank you all so much for downloading the podcast, for continually downloading the podcast, for listening in. I am very, very, very humbled, and I am very humbled and very grateful to you all. All right, so today we are going to talk about we're going to do a dream interpretation on gunshots. All right, so let's look at gunshots and or perhaps any other form of, perhaps like you could consider it violence, like a knife, a spear, any bodily harm too, because it all depends. This is a global podcast, right? So let's use the same concepts and let's break it down similarly, the same, just putting in, let's say if you had a dream that you were being stabbed, you could get the symbolisms from here as well, and then interject with what the knife means to you in your waking life, as you're going to hear what I'm going to say about guns and the gunshot within this dream itself. But per usual, before we get started, we're going to play the dream, and then we'll get started. Alrighty. And like I said, I've gotten into the system of recording the dreams instead of writing them down when I wake up to remember. All right, let's cue the dream.
Alexa, what's the date today?
Today is Thursday, April 8th.
What, Alexa, what year is it?
The current year is 2021. Your question?
Yes, thank you. All right, so last night. Okay, so last night I had this crazy dream, right? I'm gonna go sit down and break it down, and of course we're gonna talk about it. But so I was running, and it seemed like, it's weird, but just like from watching movies or something, but it looked like I was running towards like a barn or something like that, and I was being chased by 2 Latino men. One had like a mustache, like, I don't know what the mustache is called. It's not like what is it called, motorcycle handles, kind of, sort of, but they both had guns, and I went around the barn trying to run, but I then for some reason turned around, and the one had a shotgun. I'm not so good with guns, guys. It's always like a handgun. Of course I could tell a shotgun. One had a shotgun and the other one had like a handgun. And then I turned around for some reason, and the one with the handgun shot at me somewhere in my abdomen, and then the one with the shotgun shot at me in my chest. And so when that happened weird enough in a dream. Of course, quickly I ran off. I ran off, and then I ducked again behind some building, and they were looking for me, I guess. I don't know, but they were still behind me. I could feel like they were still trying to, they're still behind me, but I didn't feel any pain. My chest, my body was not feeling any pain. And when I ducked behind another building, when I ran and I ducked in, turned right to duck, behind another building, feet away from me was like a lady. I'm assuming it was her son, but it was a lady with a young boy, and I and I didn't want to call out because I was scared they would find me, so I was like, pss, 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 like, what, and she turned around, and I was like, help, help, and then I remember her rushing over, and then I don't remember what happened afterwards. I just remember her rushing over to my side. And then when she rushed over to my side, actually, no. I don't remember what happened after the part when she rushed over to my side. When she rushed over to my side, I thought I'd been shot, which was weird because she was kind of looking at my chest, but there was no, I couldn't see no blood, nothing. I couldn't see any blood or anything, and I wasn't feeling pain. I was probably just in shock or something. I don't know. And then that was that. So, I don't know. Weird. Kind of scary. Bizarre, though. But time to do an interpretation on it.
All right, folks. So that was the dream there. Lordy, lordy, lordy. I'll tell you what, it's not the first dream that I have ever dreamt of getting shot. I want to say it's the second dream, and coincidentally, I still remember the first one and where it was. So before we get started, let's talk about Carl Jung saw dreams as he saw dreams as the psyche's attempt to communicate important things to the individual, and he valued them highly, perhaps above all else, as a way of knowing what was really going on. Dreams are also an important part of the development of the personality, a process that he called individuation. And remember, for all different cultures, walks, and beliefs that people still also do, I know in Christianity, they may consider them visions, dreams, so forth, but they are strong stories in the ancient book of wisdom that do tell us about people that saw within their dreams, that had messages within their dreams, and that were able to do interpretation of their dreams as a forecast to the future, someone's future, blah, 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 blah. We've spoken about that. So let's dive right into it. Without further ado, dream interpretation sheet. This can be found on www.memorybengesa.org, and this is under the blog post section. You could copy and paste the template, download the template, print the template off your computer, whatever rocks your boat. That is your free template. All right. So as we decode the dreams and the messages from the dream realm, we will use the sheet to guide us on interpretations. All righty. So, and remembering again, because I always feel weird if I don't do a disclaimer, but listen, it's in the intro, so we're not going to do too many disclaimers, right? But let our sister take a sip off her Coke Zero real quick, right? And so I hope this podcast finds you and your family doing well. We're reacclimating into society. How are you feeling about that? Listen, I don't know about you guys, but listen, 2020 quarantine, I'm sorry if I'm stepping on toes. I'm just going to say it was a godsend for the introverts. No communication, nothing, no physical, nothing delivered. Don't even say anything. Just leave it at the door. Bye-bye. Just like an introvert's dream. If I could be quarantined for the rest of my life in real life, I would opt for that. You know what I mean? But in real life, we have to get out in society sometimes. But anyways, I digress. So let's talk about the dream of a gunshot. Once again, feel free to add in here any other weapon that you may have actually dreamt of if it wasn't by the gun. Now, before we get into this, remember at the top of the podcast, my wonderful ZIP students, that you not only do you want to tap into your waking life to do an accurate decoding of your dream, to understand the message in the dream, but you also want to in that evaluation of your waking life, you also want to evaluate what these tools mean to you in terms of the gun, the knife, the spear, the whatever, the chainsaw, whatever else has been used. Okay. And not only that, and I want to also point out that in this dream that I had, I don't have a routine of where I watch TV before I go to sleep, hours. I don't generally watch TV, right? I will binge on a weekend, on a Saturday or something like that. But before I go to sleep, I'm not watching Westerns or I'm not watching TV. So you also want to do that evaluation with thyself as well. Like, what was I watching last night before I went to sleep? Because perhaps maybe this violence may come from that. And so let me see, we did that disclaimer. And so there wasn't any shows or any television watched prior to this. But now let's dive into what the weapons. Okay, so looking at the dream interpretation sheet, let's start there first. The first question is, what did you dream about? It was a gunshot. I had 2 gunshots to me, and so I could tell you this. I have a secret to tell you guys, but don't tell anybody else. Okay, wait. First of all, let me tell you a story. Well, let me tell you the secret and let me just tell you the story, okay? The secret is I'm definitely terrified of guns. I am. And I understand a lot of people say, go to the range, go shoot, you feel amazing and exhilarated, but I don't know. I'm going to work on that. I am. I'm going to work on that. But listen, so, I was about 16 when we migrated to the United States of America. And for those of you just tuning in right now, my family and I migrated from Zimbabwe in Africa, just above the country of South Africa and just below the equator. And so where the summers are always 85 degrees with a breeze. Okay, I digress. So listen, so here's this thing. We're moving to the United States. Okay, well, wait. So before we moved, I have to tell you this story. So before we even moved to the United States of America, right, we were watching movies, right, Western influenced movies, like literally going to go rent videos at the video rental place. And I'm talking about, listen, okay, don't judge, but I'm talking about like, okay, my dad was a big Western guy. Okay, put him to the side by himself. But other than that, we were watching like all kinds of Western movies, anything you find from horror to action adventure and so forth. So my perception, we should say like that humbly, okay, listen, okay, there's so much to say. Listen, my perception of the West, particularly the United States, because all the movies we're watching were like made in the United States, were guns, like people getting shot, people getting robbed, getting jacked and all this other stuff at gunpoint and getting killed by guns and just the violence and guns. And so at that time in Zimbabwe, law enforcement had batons. Like nobody had the guns except for the military. So here's this fear of never growing up seeing one around me. And then you're watching the movies and all they portray. It's my 16-year-old mind. Please don't judge. I know better now. And so my 16-year-old mind, I'm thinking that's what we do. Like when you move to the United States, everybody has a gun. And I even say that to my mom. I was like, I don't want to go because I thought that everybody had a gun and everybody uses them. I completely thought it was like wild, wild west. And so that's why I want to also say this is a side note. When I did move out here and we were inserted into the high schools, the kids wouldn't let up. We had the thick accent and everything like that. And they were asking about, where's your pet lion, your pet elephant? It never really bothered me the wrong way because they had a perception too, right? So they had a perception cast to them probably through Discovery Channel. And I had a perception to me too cast through the love of enjoying Western movies, or American movies, we should specifically say. So anywho, came to find out when we moved into, and okay, listen, we have a global audience. Came to find out it is not like that. It was my 16-year-old mind. And it's just that people in America, of course, given the right path, you can bear arms. Okay, so not everybody has a gun. Not everybody's shooting up at nighttime or daytime. No. So that was a consolation, but that still didn't take away my fear of guns. I don't know where it came from. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's because this is this thing that could take your life. So I want to say that to you as well. If you dream of an attack or something in your dream rather than a gun, is it maybe perhaps you're fearful of knives, you're fearful of spears, you're fearful of a chainsaw? I don't know. You're fearful of whatever object that has been used. For me, my fear, it is deathly. It's like hyperventilating, kind of close to it. Yeah. And I'm doing much better, guys. I'm doing much better. So, anywho's. So yeah, that was the story. That was story time. You guys, there's a lot to come. It's called culture shock. But anywho's, so, listen, and then not to make it worse, right? Moved to Southern California, whatever, in the Valley, whatever. But now moved to the Midwest years ago in the state. Child, they could carry guns over here, right? So I had never seen that in Southern California, the little valley town we lived in. But out here, I'm like, you're going to the Home Depot, you're like, oh snap, we safe. But anyway, so listen. Okay, so as I was saying, figure out the point. If you didn't watch a show that perhaps brought this, I was like, who's talking to Alex? Okay, so perhaps if you didn't watch a show that perhaps had your subconscious rerunning a rel in your head, we can eliminate that. And then also make sure that the object that's been used, how do you feel about that? For me, I've already given you the third description on how I feel about that. Now let's go to the representation and symbolism. We're working with the dream interpretation sheet found at www.memorybengesa.org under the blogs section. Feel free to utilize that and or add to it however you feel comfortable. Let's go to the next question. Representation / symbolism. All right, so here it is. I got shot. Knock on wood. It's a strong assumption that when you get shot, there's pain there. Getting shot can be equated with death. I was terrified. Of course, I've mentioned the fear of guns. So you want to ask yourself questions. Here's some questions. What do people do after they've been shot? Right? Perhaps from movies. They're fighting for survival, right? Trying to hold on to the every last breath, depending on what kind of shot, they received. So, and I think it's just human tendency, right? For the human body to want to go into survival mode as well. You're fighting for life, fighting through life. And all right. So remember, it was 2 shots, which I'm going to put 2 things right here. Okay. And we're going to say, what type of energy are you feeling the instant you wake up? I was scared. But at the same time, I know that dreams are symbolic. So I knew that I wasn't going to, start the day off with somebody shooting at me when I got outside. But that doesn't mean that you have to be neglectful of any Okay. It doesn't mean you have to be neglectful of any type of such dreams, because remember, if you go back to my podcast and you listen to premonitions, visions, and so forth, you're able to do a breakdown, because some people have the ability, right, to see a vision. So you want to make sure you're crossing all your T's and dotting your I's as well. But here for me, I just knew that I wasn't running at no barn. And you have to also understand how premonitions work as well when you necessarily get one / or a vision. All right. So now one time I was just scared because it was freaky, right? It was surreal. And what type of energy are you feeling in the dream? I was panicked. I was running. are running away from the assailants? And what are your cultural and spiritual beliefs behind the dream? Once again, this is when you insert your cultural and or spiritual beliefs behind that dream. Here I stated in just a sentence, pain being inflicted by a weapon can mean bad luck and or enemies preparing. So it could be possible of those types of messages, and that's a cultural belief, okay? And so I'm doing a spiritual dream interpretation. That's a cultural. I always have to, because I'm here in the West, I have to be attuned to that, right? To the spiritual breakdown. Spirituality is global, but I'm just saying some of our things culturally have just been, you get myths, you get, what people say and all this other stuff. And yet dream interpretation is not necessarily always culturally based. And I'm not dismissing culture. I'm just saying, you all have heard me. You all have heard me. As funny as it is, you have heard me. Anything dark, my culture is like, it's a witch. They're a witch. They are a witch. They ride the witch's tail. They ride the witch's cow. They ride the witch's pet. So it's like everything becomes a witch, and you're like, wait a minute. Everything, everything. Okay. So some of those are just things passed down culturally, traditionally, and so forth. But that's why it's important to do a spiritual breakdown, despite of your beliefs, because it's all spiritually connected, right? All right. Let's go on. All right. So list everything you see in the dream: a barn, a vivid memory of the barn. I don't remember the color. I just remember running the corner from this barn. So what does a barn typically represent, right? Some people may keep livestock in a barn, feed, they may use it for storage, for feed, so you can also put things like what because you want symbolisms from this barn itself. I didn't go inside the barn. I just ran around the barn. So also barns, some places are used as feed for storage, depending on the farmer, depending on what they're doing, or depending on the person and or livestock, right? So even when you want to do a cultural look, like livestock in my culture is a very rich symbolism. The more livestock you have, those people got money kind of type of deal, right? But not necessarily something that's Western, but it's still prominent, I guess, so just depending on what barns are used, livestock, feed, storage, if, storage, surplus, abundance. Okay. So the two unknown men chasing me at the time, they were right at my tail, encroaching in my space. Could that symbolize perhaps lack of control? I didn't fight them back. I was definitely terrified. So perhaps maybe could symbolize lack of control over the situation. And then we have an unknown lady with a child, children typically representing innocence, right? Love to see them in my dreams. So the unknown lady, though, could she be representing a maternal energy? She's a woman, a maternal energy, perhaps a feminine energy. I'm feeling safe in her care as she is trying to help me. She's reassuring that everything is going to be okay, right? That's that kind of sense of feeling you get. All right. That I got in that dream. All right. So where are you in the dream, and or what are you doing? We explained it at the top of the hour with that recording in the dream. So I'm running, fleeing, right? And what colors and or numbers do you see in the dream, if any? It felt like it was like 5 a.m. or something like that, where you have that kind of like, I don't even know what, it's kind of like a darkish, grungy color where you have the little baby blue specks in the sky, but the sun's about to peak and it's still kind of dark. It wasn't well lit. All right. So how does the color meaning fit in with your waking life? I don't know. It felt a little bit dark if you ask me, but that's just me though. All right. So let us give a general interpretation of a gunshot or a wound being inflicted to one's body, right? Once again, this general interpretation depends upon one's waking life, one's sentiments towards the weapons of choice or weapon of choice. And sometimes even depending on where this attack is on one's body, sometimes just depending. All right. So once again, depending on where you are in your waking life, the symbolisms can could either signify pain, fears, right? Spiraling out of control. If you are being attacked, right? Because it's a difference if you are the one that's perhaps shooting at someone and or attacking the other person. So that will mean something different. But if you're the one that's being attacked in your dream with the weapon, perhaps it could be a point of pain, fears, losing control because you're not the one that's at the end of this whole entire thing. Okay. Or lack of control. Doesn't necessarily mean just losing control. It could also mean a lack of control. And so it'll be up to you in your waking life to decide which one of those symbolisms. Alrighty. So possible message from the above dream itself. All right. Taking into consideration, you put everything, you've broken down the life, the barn, the people, and all this other stuff. Perhaps abundance lies ahead if one's willing to grab a hold of the current situation, face the fears, no matter how painful it gets. They will feel that they will be someone. Face the fears, no matter how painful it gets. They will feel that there will be someone to help. Sorry. That's what happens when people are typing fast. Will be someone to help and or a source, right? So that feminine maternal energy can represent the source, the divine, right? And or perhaps physically in real life, someone will be there to help along the way. On this particular dream, I can be honest with you and tell you that even after this whole entire unpacking of the dream, decoding it, it's really alluding to in my waking life. It is I got shot twice. There are two things that I'm fearful of. Perhaps one day I'll be able to share that with you. And I understand it's not like I understand we can't live our life in fear, and you shouldn't. But it's two things that are happening in my life, around my life as we speak. Maybe I could share with you right now because you're my friends. Okay, we got time real quick. So don't laugh. I'm working on it. Okay, I have a therapist. I'm doing the work. All right. And I'm doing the inner work. But guys, so maybe perhaps we could speak about this somewhere on the spiritual podcast as well. So one of them is fear of I'm working on it. I'm even embarrassed to say it, but fear of success. It's weird. I know. It's weird. So fear of success, and I'm working on it, right? As I try to branch into my authorship and create my category, and as I brand myself as the author, and as I layer up my plan and do this, I find myself taking too much time with it. Like, sis, come on. Let's get it. What you doing? And I find myself always, I've come a long way from self-sabotaging, but I find myself stalling because I'm like, no, my catalog is not perfect yet. I need to focus on my catalog. I need to put more books in this catalog before we even really do this and all this other stuff. And so that has always been a thing that Spirit has been revealing to me, that I'm going around in bushes and in circles and in fear. And perhaps maybe it's the fear of the unknown. Perhaps I'm working on it. Anywho, I'm not going to say I'm not perfect. A dream there. It hit home with me there. Every day is a work in progress. So you all, thank you so much for tuning in. And once again, if you would like the template for a dream interpretation sheet, it is found at www.memorybengessa.org under blogs. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Dream Zone Interpretation Podcast. Stay blessed.
For God speaks in one way and or in two, though man does not perceive it. He speaks in a dream, in a vision of the night. when deep sleep falls on men while they slumber on their beds. Happy dreaming.